provided by Commissioner Winters, Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Tim Mason. Please stand.
Shall we bow our heads? Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can come together to do the public's business in the eyes of the public. Thank you for every man, every woman that's represented here, and those that we represent. Pray that we will do that to the best of our ability, that we'll come together for the right decisions. The Bible says that you own the cattle on 1,000 hills. You threw the stars into space. You fly on the wind. You ride on the clouds. But you see us when a tear falls. You see us when we go through our lives, and we need you. We thank you for that intimacy that we can have with you. We ask that you bless us in the decisions tonight. It would not only be pleasing to our constituents, but also to you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome the sheriff with us tonight, Dr. Cash, Mike from the Chamber of Commerce, and the mayor of Charleston being with us tonight. Call the roll, please.
Mason.
Here.
Ledford.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Winters.
Here.
Beatty. Hughes. Alford.
Here.
Cry.
Here.
Blake.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Gilbert.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Goins.
Here.
Slater.
Here.
It's 12 present and 2 absent.
Thank you. We'll now move along to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for the approval? Second. Commissioner Winters on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you. Report from the county mayor. Mayor Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. The only thing I have for you, I passed out a copy of appointment and reappointment on the Regional Planning Commission. I'm asking for your confirmation to reappoint Max Phillips for a 4-year term. And on the Hiawassee Utilities Commission, our long-term engineer, Fred Murphy, is retiring, and I'm asking you to appoint Sandra Helms to a 3-year term to the Hiawassee Utilities Commission.
Do I have anyone that would like to make the motion for approval? Commissioner Slater and Commissioner Goins. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda? Commissioner Winters, Commissioner Slater on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you. Now move along to the reports from the committees and our districts. We will start on our right and start with Commissioner Alford, please.
Well, looks like our cohorts on this side a little thin tonight, Mayor, Chairman, so I'm just going to pass and say Second District's doing well.
That's great. Commissioner Blake, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may recall back on February 18th, the commission approved the 25-26 budget calendar, which includes a voting session on Friday, June 27th, 2025 at noon here in the commission room to set the certified tax rate, approve budget resolutions, and approve final budget amendments if needed. Also at that time, we voted to cancel the June 23rd work session and the July 7th voting session. So please note these changes on your calendar. Also, Mr. Chairman, we go ahead and put on the agenda for June 27th. We had the 4 resolutions that make up the budget resolution. Setting the certified tax rate be item A. So item B, the resolution for the certified tax rate for the fire districts. Item C will be the appropriations. And item D will be the resolution for the nonprofits. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Collins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Winters,
I have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gilbert,
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Thompson,
Nothing to report, Chairman.
Commissioner Goins,
I had nothing to report except for I went to the take back the tire thing at the Justice Center. It's pretty good. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Slater,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report tonight.
Commissioner Mason,
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The road superintendent recently updated their internal controls, organizational chart, and policies. I asked that these be spread upon today's minutes, and here they are. And one other thing, the tire take back on Saturday at the Justice Center was a hit. 659 tires collected. We brought in over 100 residents from the city and county. And a big thank you to Alan Mincy and KAB, Cleveland Stormwater, Bradley County Stormwater, Vocker, County Commissioners, Mr. Blake and Mr. Goins and Mr. Gilbert showed up on the scene. Appreciate them for showing up. Rich Kendall with probation, Mayor Davis, and special thanks to Sheriff Steve Lawson for always letting us use the JC, and he's always a big part of this, and of course letting the inmates come out and help with over 600 tires. And of course Thomas Bell that's always there, shows up early to help, and all the volunteers. And we'll see you next time, and that's all I have, Chairman. Thank you.
thank you. Commissioner Ledford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All's well in the 6th District. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. We'll move along to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a Commissioner Slater, and who was the one? Commissioner Thompson. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Alford,
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake. Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you. Moving along, agenda item A, Commissioner Blake, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, as you can see, the mayor has his proposal. I guess the mayor want to go over it, or that's what item A is, mayor's budget proposal during the mayor's report. Usually you do it during your time.
We talked about that, Marlon, but it's on the agenda tonight, so I'll do it during A if that's okay.
Got it.
First of all, you've got the book in front of you. We won't print these every time, Commissioner Winters, but start out with a book, and hopefully the changes that come in the next week or two will be few, and we'll just swap out the pages that change. That's the plan, at least. This is actually the 4th book. I know I talk about the budget being tough every year, and so it goes in one ear and out the other, but it really is tough. It seems to get tougher every year. The first book, I went through and did the easy, no-brainer cuts, you might say, cuts to increases. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then we went in and we plugged in the 3%, a 3% raise to see how that would work, and it was really way off kilter. So we did a 3rd round and worked on it, and it was still, when I say out of kilter, we've got to get the fund balance to the level that it needs to be. And with the 3% in there, it just wasn't working too well. So finally, in the 4th draft, you might call it, we have a budget that's in front of you now that has a 3% raise for all county employees, all full-time employees. It does not have the need for a tax increase. And No department's proposed funding is less than this year. So when someone comes whining to you saying their budget was cut, they're not telling you the truth. If it's not less than this year's, it wasn't cut. Did we change numbers in what they requested? You bet. I mean, I say that, no department's proposed funding is less than this year unless they requested it. There was three, elections, GIS, and ag extension requested less. The elections because it's a 1-year cycle versus a 2-year cycle. GIS requested a little less, but they got more than their request. And the ag extension, I think, requested a little less, but they got more than their request. And then there were 3 or 4 of my departments that are less. But other than that, anyone that comes to you and says their budget was cut, is simply not true. Everyone's is more than this year. Go on to the next one, Adam. A lot of people ask you from time to time, what's the county's top priorities? And I think funding is what indicates your top priorities. The 5 largest dollar increases in this budget, and we do include schools. I don't take credit for doing anything with schools, but it does get incorporated into the budget and is something that you will vote on. So it is part of your total budget. The general purpose school fund increase is $8,946,000. Now, that's mostly state money. However, $782,000 of that is increased in local. That's what you call growth that goes to schools, $782,000. The number 2 largest dollar increase, none other than, and he's here tonight, $524,000 increase, plus there's $215,000 in the ARP. Third largest dollar increase, the Justice Center, a $393,000 increase, plus there's $100,000 in ARP. Fire Department, $240,378 increase. I think there's actually another $48,000 in ARP there also. And Emergency Medical Service, $183,845 increase. So our top priorities in Bradley County government: schools, law enforcement, jail, and emergency services. And that's how it should be. State's number 1 thing is education, but so is ours, believe it or not, and on a lot smaller scale. But education, law enforcement, jail, and emergency services. So that's the top priorities in our budget now and in the proposed budget also. I'm just going to hit highlights tonight because I know we'll talk more in detail on various lines and various budgets, but I'll try to answer questions if you have them tonight. But the opioid fund, it continues to fund the programs that are in there this year, the same programs. You'll have the ability to make changes to that $200,000 slot like you do every fall, I believe it is. But they're all in there. Plus, we added a $50,000 expense in the opioid fund for the district attorney's drug task force. He had asked for that, and it's the one fund that there's actually plenty of money in, but it can only be spent. Go ahead and go to the, you got ahead of me there, Adam. There's plenty of money in the opioid fund, but it can only be spent for certain things. Now, the ARP fund, which is dwindling fast, but we were fortunate enough this year, mainly because of the slow spending on a couple of things and not spending at all any of our, what do you call it, Adam? The broadband, the broadband bucket. The broadband $4 million is still sitting there. So guess what? It's drawing interest. So all of these expenses are actually funded from the interest that Mr. Biden sent down 2 or 3 years ago. We've spent it all, committed it all, and spent most all of it except for the broadband. So now we're drawing interest, and we have all along. And that's where this money comes in. The building improvement, the huge increase in budget for juvenile for building improvements is not there when you get there. But in talking to them, I asked them to give us their top priorities, and their top priorities were these 2 things here. So there's $100,000 in ARP, $50,000 for the sewer improvements that you heard about, and $50,000 for HVAC replacement. And there's also at the bottom another few thousand for some building waterproofing to hopefully fix some leaking that's been going on out there. In addition to that, the sheriff has the $100,000 for cars, $115,000 for computers. Justice Center, you heard a lot about locks earlier on during budget hearings. We have, in addition, you've already done some amendments in his existing budget, but there's $100,000 in the ARP budget to go toward the locks. That's a very expensive thing, but hopefully we'll be able to do it over time. The fire department has $48,000 for some equipment. We have $6,000 in the ARP for an ADA door that was brought to our attention by someone. Needed an ADA door installed at the trustee's office. And then we have $18,000 in there for Cleveland State. That's $8,000 for scholarships and $10,000 for equipment upgrades for the EMT and so forth program. And then the $12,000 for the annex. Next slide, go ahead. What does this proposal do for the taxpayers? It does not increase their taxes. It does not create any new taxes. It does not increase any fees. And the part that some people hate to hear, but I love to say it. My 25th budget proposal that does not require a tax increase and continues to provide the level of service that our citizens have come to expect and, of course, deserve. That's the highlights of it, and we'll go into as much detail as you want to tonight, and, of course, finance will be on Thursday. So if you have any questions or comments, I'll try to answer them.
Commissioner Slater?
It's 8 for scholarships and equipment. They've asked for city and county to commit to $10,000 a year for 3 years to upgrade their equipment for this program. And what this is doing is committing to that 3-year commitment plus $8,000 for 4 scholarships, I believe.
Commissioner Blake?
They didn't rent it with an ADA door, I guess would be the response, and we need one. But it's
We have a lease with the landlord, and we've looked at it. There's nothing in there that would allow us to be able to require them to put that in. So we did look at that angle, but it is something that we need to do fairly quickly, because if you go to that building, there's not a push button door that allows you to get in. So yeah, but there's nothing in the lease that you could certainly. Yes, but we're under I believe it's a 5-year lease that was signed about 8 or 9 months ago. So we still have at least 4 years, I believe. Don't quote me quite on that, but it's a long-term lease.
and it didn't dawn on us we needed one sooner until it was brought to our attention. So, before you go to the next questions, something I think Adam failed to put on here on this thing. When you get to the last slide, before it talks about what's this do for Bradley County taxpayers, I wanted to give you a total, and you're asked this a lot of times too. And I've got a budget meeting tomorrow, and they'll ask me cumulative numbers a lot of times. I don't ever see the totals. I look at fund by fund by fund. I know one question I'm being asked is, what's the total fund balance? Well, you got to take all these funds and total them together, which I don't see it like that. You see what I'm saying? I see general fund, opioid fund, ARP fund, all these different funds. But if you total our budgets all together, what you will be approving on June the 27th, I believe it is $229,426,400. That's what's in that book. Now, other questions I think you had, Mr. Chairman? Art Milan?
51, obviously our debt services, I think it's imperative, we are going to reduce our debt by 9.7 million from, again, is that what you have?
That sounds right. I hadn't looked at that total either.
That
But
if I
yeah, add up all of the not the interest, but the other one. Add all
Because-
those up and you'll
Well,
get
total
that.
expenditures is what I'm looking at, and I know there's different types of debt, interlocal and then the bond payments, but we were, the last time I looked at it, around 53 million.
Total debt,
Total, like schools, everything.
I think it's 48 or
And
something.
so
I
they'll
didn't
go
bring,
down another 9.7.
I didn't.
There, that should put us at the lowest we've been in more than 20.
Oh, yeah, if we didn't have growth and having to build schools and stuff, we would be totally out of debt in 10 years. That would be unheard of, wouldn't it? But that's a big but there. I mean, there's growth
So I
and
think
there's
that's
things to
important for
come.
everybody to realize is that we'll be 45, 46 million, lowest since 2000, last time I think, right with Barker Valley.
True.
On there. So anyway, we'll get to the rest of it in finance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Thompson, please.
He just mentioned what I was gonna ask him, the growth money. I didn't hear anything about the growth money.
Well, it's in the revenue pages, and to round it up, it ends up being approximately 2% of our revenue increase is all that I was able to get from the assessor's office as growth. You know, keep in mind the increased appraisals is flat because the rate will go down to offset it. There'll be no increased revenue from the appraisals. But when he separates out growth, there is an amount, but it's not that much of an amount. Ends up being roughly 2%. I think the budget will show it as 2%. You can look on the revenue pages and it'll tell you, it'll give you the explanation over there. That makes sense. But it's not a huge figure, and I know that's hard for people to believe, but I can only take the numbers that I'm given, and so it's smaller than I wish it was. That's what made it so hard. That plus the fact that everybody thinks this is a year we've got a lot of money because of the appraisals.
Commissioner Slater, please.
Mayor, are there any new positions in this budget?
Oh, I forgot to mention that, but yeah, the Golden Child gets one of his frozen positions back also. And if you recall, 3 or 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, we froze 15 positions at the jail and converted those positions into increased pay. And I think we've replaced 2 of them. This is probably the 3rd one. And he did ask for 3, by the way, but I was only able to work it out with 1 to come up with this fund balance and the 3%. But there is 1 additional one that's funded starting July 1st.
So that's the only one, is in the sheriff's department.
There are 2 positions that go in the middle of the year. A medical examiner. I'm having to think right quick. There are 3 part-time medical examiner positions. One of them gets converted over halfway through the year. And at Parks, they have a maintenance person that gets plugged in halfway through the year.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, and the training captain in the ambulance budget is halfway through the year. Those halfway through the years are hard to remember, but yeah, there's one of those. If you were looking in the ambulance budget, I believe it's the second line. It's got an amount for captains, and the training captain of that line doesn't start until halfway through the year.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Mayor, believe it or not, I don't see any more hands.
No other questions? Well, there will be, and please, don't necessarily wait till Thursday. If you have questions, I'd rather talk one-on-one than we can look it up and talk about it and so forth. So feel free to call me, text me, or whatever anytime between then. And, of course, finance will be going over it Thursday also. This is just the highlights. I used to go more in detail in this meeting, and people would be going to sleep on me. So the last few years, I just do the highlights, and we'll get into the weeds as far as you want to, whenever you want to, okay? The important thing is, whenever you start looking at, well, if you have a better idea and you want to change something, as I always say, just please don't lower my fund balance, because that's what took so long to get to that fund balance. With that 3% in there, and I was determined to have 3% raise, even though COLA is only 2.5. So you might need to remember that and point that out. If you're on Social Security, your parents on Social Security, they got a 2.5% raise. So we're beating the federal government's COLA. So I was determined to have that 3%, but getting that fund balance where it needed to be was what was so hard. So in the last round, and here's where you hear probably most of your complaints, the last round of cuts were $10 here, $100 here, $100 here, $100 here. Those $100 cuts won't make anybody not be able to, do their jobs. But I did it that way so it wouldn't hurt anybody a large amount. Take $100 out of one of my lines is a lot better than eliminating that line. But it take a lot more time to do it that way. So even the ones that got huge increases, and I'm picking on him because he's here, but I'm just kidding with him. The sheriff's department, even though he got huge increases, if you go to his budget, he's got several lines that are cut, and he'll tell you that. But we had to do that in that fourth round to get that fund balance where it needed to be. So please don't lower that fund balance. That's all I ask. You got prerogative, do whatever else you want to, but don't cut my fund balance. Any other questions or comments?
One more.
Yes, sir.
Don't take any out of the commission line item, not $100.
Hey, I added to your budget, didn't I?
I appreciate the 4 new paramedic scholarships that are going to be at Cleveland State.
And they've committed to continue those during this period of time,
Right.
but they did ask for this donation annually too. So
It's helped. Great.
it'll improve the program because the state doesn't really keep up to speed on keeping the updated equipment and so forth. And it's mostly for our paramedics and so forth anyway. So
Do you have any additional information, Commissioner Blake, on agenda item A? Okay. We'll move along to agenda item B. Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, talked about what's going on in Congress, and first of all, I want to thank Lori for helping draft the letter, but this letter basically talks to our congressional leaders in Washington, asking them to think about when they go into the bond market. Right now, as you know, they do not pay corporate income taxes or income tax on bonds that are municipal bonds. So this basically lets them know the ramifications if they were to reduce it or eliminate that. So, Mr. Chairman, these letters, I believe you have them, and one is going to Congressman Fleischman and to the 2 Tennessee senators. Mr. Chairman, I'll put this in a form of motion. Thank you.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Alford on the second. Open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Alford,
Yes.
Cry,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you. Move along to communication from the audience. I will recognize and allow 5 minutes to anyone wishing to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak in the audience?
Sir.
Being no one to speak, we'll move along to announcements. Finance Committee meeting, June the 5th, here in the commission room. June the 6th, Friday Festival at First Street Square. Farmers on First is June the 7th. That'll be at the First Street Square also.